What do you do when life takes you from the bottom to the top and you are enjoying all the luxury that the top has to offer? And all of a sudden, everything begins to go away in the blink of an eye, and you see yourself descending down to the bottom. And not only that, you become a laughing stock of everyone around. So was the story of Lade, who was married to Ekena, a billionaire businessman. In the movie Where Love Lives, directed by our very own Bimbo Ademoye. Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's go. Ekena, Uzor Arukwe, Lade, Bimbo Ademoye, Queen Chioma, Nwosu, Imade, Osas Ighodaro, Emem, Greg, Bryan, Okoye. These were the main cast in the movie. Now, Ekena, it started off by Ekena taking his wife to a beautiful mansion he had just bought. She was exhilarated, she was happy and everything. They got in. Now, Ekena was a typical Igbo man, very rough around the edges. However, he was a good man. He was the picture perfect husband who takes care of his wife, well off, affluent, a billionaire who just wanted to spoil her silly with gifts, luxury, and all that. He gave her everything she wanted and more. She was so happy. She was living a life, elite. She was just in a new neighborhood. They had moved to the island, to like a banana island, a beautiful estate, the estate for the high and mighty. They were there, and he bought the house in her name, so she was happy. While they were celebrating, three ladies walked to the door, knocked. She went downstairs. They went downstairs to meet these ladies. They were looking very rude and just attitude-y and whatever. So they said they came to know who their new neighbor was. And she could sense the weirdness and the bad vibes. So she kind of matched their energy, because she was draped in a very beautiful designer outfit, head to toe. She looked really great, really exotic and elegant. So the queen bee of the group was Queen with her two minions. However, one of the minions was not really bad. That's Imade. Imade was not really bad. And on the other hand was the minion and the direct follower of Queen. So they kind of went back and forth a little bit in a very subtle way. So Imade was happy because Lade was able to match Queen's energy, and well, that's past. So Lade was jogging and she bumped into a young guy who they exchanged pleasantries with. He asked her if she was new in the estate because he had never seen her before. Kind of like showered her with praises and accolades and whatever, told her she's beautiful and whatever. He said he would like them to be friends. She said on one condition, she would like to know what's going on in the area and the gossip and everything. So yeah, he told her just a few stuff, told her about the meeting, because they had talked about the meeting when the ladies were there. He told her about the meeting, that whoever comes late for the meeting is going to pay $100, right? And said Queen was just about other people's businesses, using it against them. She would try to know your secret, and if you kind of stand up to her, she's going to try to use it to destroy you or whatever. So that passed, and this lady was Lade and her husband. They were waxing strong. Lade's Ekena's sister and his brother visited him and told him how they feel that Lade is after his money. She just wants to spend his money. She doesn't really love him for real. Why is it that she has not given him a baby? Although Ekena and Lade kind of had an agreement that they were not going to have a child just yet. So he was telling her to go off birth control. She was like, we said 3 years and all of that stuff. So they had an agreement. So his sister and his brother, they were trying to talk down on her, whatever. Well, it didn't end well. They ended up walking out of his office because he was not acquiescing to whatever they came with. He was repudiating them. Apart from that, he was defending his wife, and he wouldn't let nobody talk down on his wife. Well, they walked away. Ekene and Lade, however, were two different people. Lade was classy, elegant, eloquent. She presented herself in a proper way. She was into and whatever. Ekene, on the other hand, was loud, uncouth, just a typical uneducated businessman who, by virtue of hard work, made his money. And didn't care, didn't give a hoot about what anyone would have said or whatever. So they had contrasting personalities. However, she was in the arms of a loving man who would just give her the world. So why not? She dealt with his cons, right? Well, she decided to take him out. She said they should go to a restaurant. He was like, I thought you were supposed to start cooking. She was like, I can't cook, I just cannot cook just yet, blah, 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 blah. She didn't want to cook. Long story short. And she didn't want a chef because she was scared the chef would take her husband. So she took him to this restaurant. And they served them intercontinental dishes. It was the estate restaurant. He couldn't eat any of it, being that he was a local man. He was acting, it was so funny that this movie was really hilarious. Like, I laughed throughout. It was funny, it was intense, the message was still kept. It was a good movie. I'm telling you, you should go watch it. So eventually he called the waiter and asked the waiter to give him local food. Fufu, the waiter said they don't serve that in here. While that debacle was going on and his wife Lade was feeling embarrassed, Greg walked in and sat behind them. So he saw everything. And she didn't want Greg to see everything because she was trying so hard to make sure her husband and her marriage were both clandestine, very secretive, so that no one would know the dynamics or whatever is going on there. Eventually, they got back and yeah, it was the meeting day. She intentionally went late for the meeting because she wanted to see what was going to happen. While before she went to the meeting, Queen was with other women. They were seated. Queen started talking. There's this old woman that likes to oppose Queen in a very calm way. So they didn't really like her like that. So Queen was talking, blah, 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 being very prideful, very arrogant, very audacious. While she was doing that, Lade walked in with such grace, such point, and, walked in and Queen was mad because she was all fashionable and late. She sat down elegantly. Before she sat down, she greeted the old woman and she sat down and Queen talked about, so Queen asked her for the $100 fine when you can. She took out a bundle of cash and took 10 pieces out of it, gave them and said they should keep the change. It was just a show of class. So Queen met her match. And Imade, on the other hand, was liking it because Imade was like, Queen does too much. So she has finally met her match. Well. They started talking about someone vying for the position of the leader in the estate, the coordinator or whatever. So Queen said she stands unopposed. So she's just going to take the post. Or is there anyone that will oppose her? No one wanted to because apparently she had put them under her. They were all her lapdogs. Lade stood up and said she wants to vie for the position. So Queen was pissed. Queen said, well, she's just new here. Lade is just new, so Lade cannot vie for the position. Except someone vouches for her. Then Imade decided she was going to do that. So it was on. So after all said and done, you know how Queen was. She started trying to dig dirt, to dig and know what was the dynamics of Lade's life and everything. So she invited Lade's husband and Lade to dinner at her place. When she went there to give the invitation, she met Lade's husband. Lade's husband acted all local. He had these glasses on that could record. He was just acting all local and stuff. So she was happy to invite him so that there'll be an embarrassing moment. Well, when they got to the house for the dinner, there were guests, and she was wondering, Lade was wondering why they were guests that. So Queen was like, the more the merrier. They sat down for dinner. They served the food they served. The man couldn't eat the food. Ekena couldn't eat it. He was loud. He was acting up. He asked for another type of food. Queen's husband asked him a question. He couldn't answer it. It was so embarrassing. So the dinner ended up embarrassing the Ekenas, and they had to go. Now, he got a call. It was kind of a distress call, so he needed to travel. While he did that, Lade, his wife, after the embarrassment, she was really sad, so she hit Greg up. Greg invited her over for a party. She went there. It was Greg's uncle's wife's party, pretty young wife. And after the party, when they came out of the party, he hugged her. So he hugged her tightly in a way that was not too okay for a married woman. While he was doing that, someone took a photo of them and sent it to her husband. The husband was mad at her. She apologized to him and told him everything. She said there was nothing going on, but this is everything because he's just her friend. So the next day, the husband forgave her. The next day, the husband told her everything that happened with the distress call, from the distress call and whatever. He said he has lost everything. Everything has gone down the drain. They are going to start from the scratch. She couldn't continue because this is someone who was into luxurious lifestyle, everything luxury, whatever, the Birkins, the Kellys and whatever. Now she's going back to square one. She couldn't believe her eyes. She was crying, she cried. And it was so bad that it was no more news in the estate because everyone had got to find out. To an extent that when they went for the second meeting to finalize the election, Queen used it against her and also insulted her husband. And she slapped Queen and she told them they shouldn't vote for Queen because Queen is this, that, she's obnoxious, she's whatever, very belligerent. So she won the hearts of the ladies. Now after that, things got worse. He sold all the cars. He sold his office, the one he had on the island. He sold his office. He was about to sell the house because he told her they would have to move to a smaller house. The house she didn't take well. That was the one that broke her the most. Well, she went to Greg to see if she could get some money from him. Greg wanted to sleep with her because she came to ask for money. She gave it to him and left. Meanwhile, Imade, on the other hand, became withdrawn at some point because she was going through it. Someone kept on blackmailing her, collecting money from her for some reason. So while Lade left Greg's house and was angry and was walking. Imade told her to hop in the car. She hopped in the car. In the car, Imade told her that she was the one that sent the photo to Greg. She was angry. Lade was really angry. She said, well, I did it to save your marriage. So that was when she told her what Greg has been doing. Greg has been the one extorting money from Imade because Greg did the same thing he was trying to do with Lade. It's just that she fell for it. Not deeply though. They had a case. He recorded it and he started using it against her and said he was going to send it to her husband. And he took advantage of her vulnerable moment and did that. And to just save her, the husband's whatever was going to come, he kept on demanding for money from $10,000 to $5,000 or whatever. She kept on giving him. So, well, then on the other hand, Queen's husband was angry with her because he wanted her to get that role so that he could be exposed to more contracts, more connections, or whatever. So because she was not, he was very abusive. So because she didn't get it, he beat her. He was beating her right in front of the kid. And Imade came to her house to apologize and heard her screaming and the kid screaming. She got in. She was so angry. She confronted the husband. She took Queen and her son and left and took them to her house and told the husband what had happened. The husband took the son away. Then she also invited the other two ladies, that's Eno and Imade, over to just be with Queen and console her. That was when Queen opened up to them that she's not this vile. This is what happened. And also opened up that she can't have a child, and her husband's mom brought him a mistress, and she also suggested surrogacy, but the husband didn't acquiesce to it. Imade opened up about the whole Greg situation, and Ladi said, you know what, ladies, it's time to stand by each other. Let me help. So she went to Lade went to Greg's house, set there's a glasses that does record. She went there, she set him up and she recorded it, everything. And while she was giving him an ultimatum and threatening him to not only stay away from Imade and stop taking advantage of the situation and delete the video, the lady, his uncle's wife, came down. So apparently he's been sleeping with the uncle's wife. So that was another way to get him to cooperate. So she gave him 3 days, and she helped facilitate Queen's divorce from her husband, and that was how. So toward the end of the movie, Eno kind of, so the ladies were out in the restaurant, and Eno's husband walked in with the lady. So and they all saw him. Eno was angry, and that was when Eno found out that it was not actually the mistress; it was a surrogate person, someone that was willing to carry their baby, and she was so happy because the husband finally agreed to it. What else? Then at the end of the movie, Ekena decided to let the cat out of the sack. He told Nadia that all of these were just a ploy. It was all of these were just tied into a ploy. Everything was a lie. He just wanted to be sure she loves him, and honestly, she loves him because there was one time she wrote a note, she dropped it, then she packed her bags. He came back to the house. He saw the note. He went upstairs. He was crying, calling her name. He thought she had gone. Then voila, she came back. He was like, I thought you had gone. Why did she said no? So he asked her why she dropped the note. She told him that she wanted to sell all the bags. That if she had told him, he would have let her. So she had to take it to sell. And she already has a buyer and someone who is willing to offer her 110 million. So they could start a business from there. She told him she loves him and she was never going to leave him because he's a good man. And she will go through the distance with him. And their love is for better, for worse. So it's not only when everything is good and when everything is pleasurable. It's also when the chips are down. So that was how what I gave, and that was how the movie ended. Beautiful movie. I bet I am going to encourage you to go watch the movie. It's a beautiful storyline from Bimbo. Beautiful storyline again. Bimbo has not disappointed. This movie was good. I loved the movie. I'm not gonna say everyone played their role pretty well. Everyone. Yeah, so I'm not gonna really say anything less about the movie. I was not feeling Eno very well there. I didn't feel her well there. But the movie was pretty good. And Greg, I wish it was another person that was really, I'm not saying Greg is a handsome, but I want someone that is captivating. The look, everything is striking. So, so that the person comes to the charm and you fall for it. That was just it for me. But it's overall good movie. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Nice movie. It was giving me Hollywood drama vibe. That was what it was giving me. A combination of Hollywood, Nollywood. The fact that the movie was hilarious was what got me. I loved the fun because Uzor Arukwe outdid himself. He just knows how to interpret this Igbo, very staunch, absolute Igbo man's role. He just knows how to interpret it. And he did a great job at it. It was good. Bimbo, on the other hand, Blessing and Zay, beautiful. It was a beautiful movie. And this is quite long. So go watch it. I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye.